Hey everybody, it's John, and this is the Curtins For You Podcast, episode 6. I do not really have a plan for this episode, so I'm going to kind of wing it, and I guess we'll talk about what's been going on in my life, what I've been up to, and we'll talk music, some football, maybe bourbon. I'm not sure yet, but, let's, as I say, whatever works. So welcome. This is the Curtins For You podcast. I'm coming to you on Sunday. It's right about 6 p.m. I actually just got back from a child's birthday party. Jamie's friend, her daughter Reagan, turned 3 today. So I was at a kid's birthday party for the first time probably since I was a kid. I can't really remember the last time I went to a kid's birthday party. It was interesting. They brought in a petting zoo, which I sort of felt bad for the animals. I don't know how I really feel about petting zoos. And they also had a pony that the little kids could ride, and it's pretty funny how little kids seem to want ponies, especially little girls, so badly. And then a pony shows up, and everyone's just so terrified to ride it. So the birthday girl did not ride the pony. She was too scared of how big it was. But there was a pony, and there was a full-on petting zoo. One that I'd never seen before. I didn't know ferrets were part of a petting zoo, or a bearded dragon, or even ducks, for that matter. There were ducks at the petting zoo. I was hoping for some goats. No goats. No pigs. I would say the highlight animal was probably either the chinchilla or the bearded dragon or the tortoise. They had a tortoise there, but all of which these animals make no sense to be at a petting zoo. And I don't think petting zoos are really good for animals, so, that's just my feeling on it. But it was bizarre. It was bizarre to be at a kid's birthday party. I think any of you that know me probably picture me at a 3-year-old's birthday party and are like, oh my god. And, it's not totally inaccurate, but certainly not something that I do all the time. Let's see. What else did I want to touch on? So Goose finally dropped the soundboards of the New Haven shows, which I have been very patiently waiting for. I actually thought that they were probably going to do a DVD out of those shows because of how many cameras were there and how delayed the release of the soundboards were. But maybe that's a pipe dream, maybe it's not. But there was definitely a lot of cameras there. I'd love to see a DVD of both shows. Just do like a 2-disc DVD set of those shows. That'd be really awesome. Goose, if you're listening out there, I would be all about a New Haven DVD. So anyway, I was listening to the soundboards. They dropped today, so I spent as much time as I could at the birthday party just kind of listening to some tunes. I want to go back and on the second night they opened with Tribute to Gold, which is a Duke Harrington song. I had never heard that song before. I really, really like it. I thought it was maybe a Shenanigans nightclub kind of jam. I was just totally unaware of the fact that it was a Duke Harrington song. So yeah, I was pretty stoked about that. It was interesting to listen back and then take a look at Duke Harrington's sort of music catalog. Another thing that's pretty exciting, where I live, the city I live in Connecticut, just opened a new vinyl shop, and they got some really good stuff. But I did manage to pick up Sergio Mendes and the Brazil 66. So, we've got Mas Que Nada on here. We've got Going Out of My Head, Tim Dom Dom, Day Tripper. I mean, just a lot of really, really good Brazilian sort of singable, melodic, jazz, funk, Brazil pop, I guess, is how I would describe this album. But I was very excited to find it. It was in the dollar stack of vinyls, and the vinyl itself is in perfect condition. So I'm looking forward to getting side one on here and getting to listen to that a little bit later. I've had a lot of people just in my life in person ask me a lot of bourbon questions, just because I think a lot of people are getting into bourbon. I know it's certainly becoming probably the most popular spirit that that we sell at my employer. But I would say that probably nationwide, bourbon is outselling Scotch quite a bit. But, I could be wrong. I know that America does, or the U.S., they definitely make up a large percentage of the export of Scotch. So I know we're definitely drinking a lot of Scotch, but we're definitely we're drinking a lot of bourbon as well. Just to kind of give you a little rundown, bourbon has to be at least 51% corn in the mash bill. So as long as you have 51% corn in your mash bill, you are technically making a bourbon. Now, with those mash bills, what seems to be most popular is our high rye mash bills. So rye is a grain that you can use that is spicy. So if you've ever had a bourbon where you feel like you've got a real spicy finish, like maybe some cinnamon or like some kind of spicy like baking spices, that usually would be rye in your bourbon. High rise really depends, but you're looking at about 51% corn and then maybe about 20%, 25% rye. And then on a full rye, you'd have 51% corn and then 49% rye. And that makes a full rye rather than just a high rye mash bourbon. There's some really, really delicious ryes out there right now. The bottle that I'm actually currently drinking is, I believe it is the Peerless Barrel Strength, but let me just make sure here because I don't have the bottle in front of me. So it's the Peerless Barrel Proof, which is proofed in at 107.6. It's a really, really good full rye, straight rye, and one of the better bottles that I've had recently. The price point is a little high, but it's worth it if you're a rye fan. I really liked this bottle of Peerless, so I just wanted to mention that. Also, if you can get your hands on the Weller Antique 107, that's going to be a little more of a weeded bourbon, but that has a high rye mash, I believe, in that mash bill as well, because it's definitely pretty spicy. That can be a tough bottle to find. For those of you that don't know, bourbon hunting is a big thing in Connecticut, a big thing really probably across the country, unless you're in Kentucky where, these bottles are easily accessible for you. There are some names like Blanton's or, E.H. Taylor, Hirsch. There are a lot of these, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare. These are bottles that are allocated, meaning that every store only gets a certain amount, or the distributor themselves only distribute a certain amount of bottles per year. So that makes it hard to find, and what tends to happen is stores will overcharge you. My recommendation for that is do not buy bourbon that is overpriced. If you see a bottle of Blanton's and it costs more than $100, they're making a huge profit on you. So, just be weary of that. If you're someone that's never had Blanton's, never had Buffalo Trace, something like that, and you're getting into bourbon and you really want to try it, if you want to spend that money, that extra money that they're going to charge you, go right ahead. Because, some of those bourbons are really good, but some of them are definitely not worth the inflated price. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there. I'm not a big fan of bourbon hunting. It leads to a secondary market where people, who have a lot of money will buy, as many nice bottles as they can and then resell them. And usually they're reselling them at 4, 5, 6 times what the shelf price should be. For example, I have a bottle of Blanton's that I got for $69.99, and for me that's a fair price. I know people that pay $200, $300 for a bottle of Blanton's, and that is an absolute waste. Blanton's is a really, really delicious bourbon. Probably one of the only allocated bourbons that I actually think is kind of worth searching out. However, I do not think it's worth that really, really high price point. So, just wanted to educate you guys a little bit about, bourbon hunting, and, if you do enjoy drinking bourbon, it's important to, first of all, I should have started with this, but I'll get to it, but you should always be looking to try something new. I talk to a lot of people who are, looking to buy bourbon at our store, and a lot of times they aren't willing to try something new, and what they're drinking is subpar. You could spend $5 or $10 more and get a bottle that to me is 10 times better. So I just, to everyone out there, if you enjoy drinking bourbon or vodka, scotch, gin, even IPAs and beer, it's always worth trying something new, especially if you talk to somebody who knows about the spirit. Or, it's no fun to just stick with the same thing. And you'll find that there's a range of awesome flavors, awesome producers that are making some really exciting bourbons right now. And that's besides Kentucky. Kentucky is the bourbon capital, but there's a lot of really, really good bourbons that are coming out from other places too. And to write those off is silly. It's a mistake. For example, Four Roses has their Four Roses Small Batch Select. We have that at our store. People write that off immediately because they think Four Roses is simply just, that sort of basic standard release. But the Four Roses Small Batch Select is one of the best bottles of bourbon I've had. It's incredibly hard to find. From what I can tell, it's the first time it's been in the state of Connecticut. I also did some research and I saw that it's only available in 33 states. I'm not sure why that is, but that's the way it is. But either way, if you're a bourbon drinker and you haven't had the Four Roses Small Batch Select, I would definitely recommend stopping by my store, and not my store, where I work, and grabbing a bottle. because it's really, really good stuff. And when it's gone, it's gone. And